Welcome back to Coding is Easy. In this video, I'll be showing you how to create pure components in React. Before that, I'll introduce you with the pure functions. What are pure components? What are pure components, by the way? So pure components are the components in React which uh, only get rendered if the state of the component actually changes. If the state of the component doesn't change, then the component doesn't render. If the state changes, only then the component is rendered. This helps in boosting the performance of the application. You can boost your application's performance by writing the pure components rather than the impure components what we write. In this video, I'll be showing you how to write pure components instead of impure components we usually write in react.js. So I have created these three files inside of my components folder. I have created a component folder within the source folder of my React application. So within the components folder, I have created three files: pure component, impure component, and parent component. First of all, I'll be creating an impure component. What we do in React mostly, import React component from React. In here, I'll be creating a class named impure component. Class impure component extends. It will extend the component render method. In here we will be having render method, and within that we will having return statement which will return the what we want to return. So in here I'll be returning, like, this is an impure component, div this is an impure component. That's it. And after that I'll be exporting it. Export default impure component. That's it. That's how we create a component in React. That is a class component in React. So we usually write this syntax for components in React, but these are impure components. How we write a pure components, let me show you. First of all, import React pure component. Here we don't import only component, but we import the pure component rather than the component, because we are creating pure component from React. And after that we will create a class named pure component. You can name the class whatever you want. I have named this just for the understanding purpose. Extends pure component, and we will extend here pure component rather than the component. Render function, and within the render function we will have a return, and in here we can return anything. Like I'm saying, this is a pure component. This is a pure component. That's it. And I'll be creating a parent component also. Before that, I'll export it. Export default pure component. That's it. And in the parent component, I'll create a parent component which will be impure component, by the way. Import I'll just save time by copying all of this code from the impure component, and that's how a component from React, and I'll change the name to parent component, extends component, render. This is a parent component, this is a parent component, that's it. This is a parent component, and in here we will design we will export parent component, and in here we will create a constructor function for the component, constructor function, and in there we will be having super keyword props. That's the syntax we mostly write in React. So that's it. And in constructor we will be creating a state, this dot state. Here I'll name my property name, and let's say Ramesh, Raju here. So I've created, this is showing an error. What is the problem here? Let's check it out. Expected colon, I haven't written colon somewhere, I think. Expected semicolon. Seven of 19. This dot state is equals to this. That's it. So I'll be importing pure and impure components here. Import pure from dot slash pure component, and in here I'll be writing pure component. I'll be copying this and similarly importing impure component also here. Impure component from impure component. That's it. And I'll be calling I'll be passing here within the render pure component and impure component. Here I'm passing pure component, and I'll be assigning a prop, this dot state dot name, this dot state dot name. That's it. And similarly, and this div will be at the bottom like this. Div, and we will be writing impure component in here. Impure component, and name this dot state dot name. So we are okay. This is a parent component. We got it. Pure component we rendered. Pure component we rendered. Impure component, but we assigned. We passed a name property here, name prop here, and we will accept it in those components. To accept in those components, we have to create constructor function first of all, and we will pass props here, similar to the parent component. Super props. That's it. And we will access by writing the name is this dot props dot name, this dot props dot name. That's it. And similarly, we will do in impure component also. We'll create a constructor there. And here we will create a constructor, and let's write this is the name is this dot props the name, this dot props the name. That's it. Okay, so we are done with creating components. Let's console log. First of all, we will just import the parent component here. Let's remove all of this code and remove this also. And in here we will just create we will render parent component. That's it. So it automatically imported the parent component here, and it is showing an error. Identify pure component has already been declared. Let's change the name of pure component example to example component, and because pure component is the name defined in React, so we will change the name to example component. Let's change it to example component, and this is a pure component we can write here. And so since we have exported it as example component, we will import it as example component also. Example component. Example, by the way, you can import as pure component also. Export example component. Done. That's it. In class pure component extends pure component. Now we have fixed this error. Yeah, so this is a parent component, this is a pure component, the name is Raju. This is an impure component, the name is Raju. So this is the parent component. I can show this to you here. Parent component, this is a parent component, and after that example component, and after that impure component. Example component here is pure component, and this is a pure component, the name is Raju, and this is an impure component. Okay, so I'll show you how these components are rendering by writing a console log statement, console.log parent component. This is a parent component, so parent component, this console.log parent component, and similarly we will write for impure component also. Impure component and pure component. So we will check how this function is, these components are rendering here. First of all, when these are firstly rendered, first of all parent component got rendered because first of all in the application app.js we rendered the parent component, and in the parent component we rendered this is a parent component statement, and this is here, and after that we rendered example component, that is pure component and impure component, and this is a pure component, after that impure component. Similarly, first of all parent component is rendering, we can see on console log also, and then impure component and then pure component. So impure component is running first, than the pure component, because we are here. But once we again re-render it, then see, first of all parent component is running, and then pure component, and then impure component, as we have written parent, pure component, and impure component. But if we create a button here, if we create a button to change the state, button change name, we will change the name here, and we will add an on click handler. On click is equals to this dot change name, function. We will define this function above in the parent component. Here change name is equals to, and in here we'll change this state, this dot set state, using the set state method. In here we will change name. Basically we won't change the name, and it is Raju. So we are not changing the name basically, but if we click on the button, let's see which components are running again, because the state is actually not changing. That's just a button, but the components will be rendering. The impure component will be rendering again, while the pure component will not be rendering. Since the parent and the impure components component are impure components, and the pure component, this one is a pure component. So let's see which components are running. A pure component is a component which don't render if the state actually has not been changed. Like here, the name property is not changed, so pure component will not be rendering again, saving the and thus boosting the performance, while these two components will be running, impure components. So let's see, first of all parent component is rendering, and then pure component is rendering, and then impure component is rendering. Let's click on the change name. See here, after that parent and impure components are rendering, but pure component is not rendering, because it doesn't render when the state actually has not been changed. But if I change the state actually here, Raju, like right here, Rastogi. So if I have changed, let's remove all of this and refresh the application. First of all, this is the first rendering, so all have been rendered, but again if I see here, again the components and have been rendered again. This time the pure component is also rendering. See here, the pure component is also rendering again, because the name has been changed. But if I click on it again, then the pure component will not render, because the state is same, that is Raju Rastogi. If the state is same, then pure component will not be rendering, thus boosting the performance of the application. But if the state is changing, the pure component will be running. Thus the application can be made more faster by creating pure components than the impure components. That's it for this video. See you in the next video.